Had the Democratic Convention in 1980, in August of 1980, not ended up fragmented, with Teddy Kennedy pulling support away from me, had I come out of the Democratic Convention with a unified Democratic Party, I would have beaten Ronald Reagan. That's what he said. And I said, Mr. President, what about high interest rates, high mortgage rates, hostage crisis, oil prices, a malaise in America that didn't have confidence in you as their leader? He said that didn't matter. What mattered was that the Democratic Convention, the Democratic Party was splintered, and that's what allowed Reagan to win. I said, so how did that happen? And this is his quote. The evangelicals and the Jews abandoned me. You see what you just did with your eyes? If you'd seen a mirror, you would have known that you went, oh, really? I can't believe that's what he thought. Most of us go through life and we don't like to acknowledge our own mistakes. We find ways to cover them up or to not be candid about them. And I think Carter was being human nature, and he didn't want to acknowledge that maybe his leadership decisions had something to do with his defeat. Deeper still, Carter's attitude toward Israel was not just anti-Begin or American Jewish engagement in politics. Jimmy Carter comes from the South. Jimmy Carter articulated an outlook that said that the downtrodden must be represented. And for him, that meant anyone who didn't have a voice. In this case, the Palestinians. And he wanted to be the trumpet of the Palestinian voice. And the obvious other side of the coin was the Israelis were not the trumpet. The Israelis were the opposite. And seeing the Palestinians as a civil rights issue, as a human rights issue, made a great deal of sense to him. He didn't like Ronald Reagan. He didn't like being defeated. He didn't like the fact that when Bill Clinton became president, he wasn't given all the access that former presidents usually get to intelligence briefings. He got angrier and angrier as the 90s moved on. Those of us at the Carter Center who were Emory University faculty were jettisoned. Latin American democracy stayed on. Middle East, Africa, Soviet Union, those were not areas that he was going to focus anymore. And so my contact with him pretty much was just, would he come and speak in my class on the Arab-Israeli conflict once every 2 or 3 years on campus, and he did. Until October of 2006, he came and 10 minutes before the class he said, I just wrote a new book on the Middle East. I said, really? Can I read it? He said, no, I don't want you to read the page proofs. Already there was a sense that the page proofs were not going to be necessarily pleasing to Professor Ken Stein. And the book came out 2 weeks later. I read the book about 5 weeks later. And when I saw the things that he had misquoted in meetings that I had been the note taker on with Assad and others, and he completely misrepresented UN Resolution 242, and he knew better. He was hijacking our story. And I said, I can't, I'm a historian, my whole life is based on sources. And even if he's a former president, I can't allow that. No one's going to listen to me. No one did. I mean, it made somewhat of a stink in the press, but bottom line, ultimately, he was president and I never was. But I needed to get into the historiography, all the errors in the book, and I did that. What's the lesson there for another former Democratic president who's going to leave office in 2017? Who didn't exactly have a positive relationship with the Prime Minister of the State of Israel. But certainly can't accuse American Jewry for denying him a second term. So if you were Barack Obama and you were going to decide how you're going to spend your post-presidential years, how would you do it? As the first former black president, are you going to go off on a harping and a carping of the State of Israel, or are you going to promote the equality of blacks in America? You know, I don't know, I'm not privy to it. No one's asked me to help form his presidential library, but I'm speculating here out loud. Former presidents have a lot of influence in America, if they want it. Or you can go silent like George Bush II did. Or you cannot, like Bill Clinton did. But Bill Clinton never second-guessed the former president. Jimmy Carter never had a problem about second-guessing former presidents. Ever. He thought because he was elected, it was his prerogative to do so. So it's a different kind of personality. My suspicions are Barack Obama is not going to second-guess his successors. He just understands that as a former president, you don't do that. How do you hold people in office accountable? How do you make them toe the line? I mean, there's some people who get when you think about the game Monopoly, some people have a get-out-of-jail-free card. All the time. Former presidents have a get-out-of-jail-free card. I hope that tells it without being boring. I haven't retold that story in probably 5 years. Thank you.